Hey everyone, this is Hilary, and I wanted to come on and share with you a little bit about what's happening during this new moon in Leo that's coming up. And I especially wanted to share with you how you can use this energy. The energy of this moon is extremely masculine and extremely masculine oriented. So, what I wanted to do is say, here are some things that you can do to utilize this energy to your own benefit, because it's the kind of energy that you can use it or you can let it use you. So, you definitely going to want to try to use it. So the first way that you can use this particular new moon is to accept change. And so right now, the lunar cycles might feel a little bit weird, a little bit topsy-turvy, because what's most comfortable, I think, for most people with lunar cycles is for the sun to move into a sign and then the moon to initiate and birth herself in that sign, so that the majority of the cycle is spent with the sun in the sign. But right now, the new moons are happening when the sun's at the end of a sign and then getting ready to move into the next sign. So it's kind of like a lot of overlapping of energies, and maybe the new moon feels how the full moon normally feels for you, and the full moon might feel the way the new moon normally feels for you. So there's not necessarily any one way that everyone experiences lunar cycles, but what's normal for you may feel different right now during the lunar cycles. There's certainly kind of the traditional understanding is that new moons are initiations. The first quarter moon is a crisis of action. So you have to do something so that your intentions will manifest themselves under the full moon. The full moon is a culmination. The third quarter moon is a crisis of consciousness. There's a release because you have to change your mind. And it's not that the lunar cycles are not still generally operating within that arc, but that maybe the new moons feel like they are culminations. You might feel like you're releasing under the new moon. The full moon could feel like a beginning. Yeah, things might just feel a little bit uncomfortable. And the other thing that's happening that might make these lunations and these lunar cycles, because really about the whole cycle, feel uncomfortable is that the full moon always occurs in the sign opposite the sun's position at a given moment. Most of the time, the new moon associated with a full moon also starts in that sign that's going to be opposite that full moon. But right now, that's not what's happening. So you can feel like you're having a new moon, and the energy at the full moon could make you feel like you're like kind of stretching a little bit or going a little bit further, a little bit beyond. Like it's kind of there could be the sense of like the full moons are dragging you along. So that can also make things feel uncomfortable. Again, it's like, what is happening? What energy are we in? Because of this sort of potential awkwardness, it's really important to pay attention to your body and really important to pay attention to your own intuition and what your body and your spirit are telling you. So you might be feeling a little awkward with the energies of the lunar cycles right now. And if you are, listen to that. If you're feeling like this is how I normally feel under this phase, but now I'm feeling this way, is something wrong with me? Something's not wrong with you. It's just how you're feeling right now. So tap into your body, tap into your spirit, tap into your intuition. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. I'm going to write a song called Listen to Yourself, because I couldn't possibly emphasize that you need to listen to yourself right now more than ever before. Even if you're like, I'm not really sure about that, you gotta listen. You just gotta listen and follow your intuition. The rules. There are no rules right now. Whatever you think the rules are, or they have been, they're disappearing, right? So don't get attached to rules. Don't get attached to any kinds of rules. Create new ones if you want. But don't get attached to the rules. Again, don't get attached to, well, in a lunar cycle, this is how it feels. That's not how it is. Don't get attached to any rules in any institutions, situations, times, relationships, the astrology, what's happening over there, this person, this situation. You can't get attached, right? You just have to pay attention to this and be willing to be extremely flexible right now. Uranus also stationed retrograde over the weekend. And so retrogrades are when an energy is turned inward. And Uranus is the planet of awakenings, innovations, breakthroughs, disruption, right? He likes to just go around and break shit, right? Uranium, when you think of uranium, right? Uranian energy is also in uranium. So he really disrupts the status quo. That's part of, the energy that's breaking all these rules of these institutions that have been around for thousands of years. What's going on? That's Uranus and Taurus is breaking through centuries or millennia of institutional stagnation. Okay, but during a retrograde, that energy is turned inward. So this is a time, especially the last few days, the next couple days, where you could be feeling, and then it will progress over the next several months, because Uranus retrogrades every year for 5 or 6 months. So it's not like one of these really short, intense retrogrades, but it's a longer, deeper kind of retrograde. But usually around those dates when he retrogrades, you can really feel it. So you'll be feeling it internally. So you could have internal breakthroughs. You could be going through your own awakening period, like another awakening, another awakening, another awakening, because there's never a last awakening. There's never just one, and there's never a final one. It's just constantly awakening, breaking through. So all of the things that are happening right now are opportunities to innovate yourself and your life in this place here. And it's really important to let those innovations occur, because so many changes are happening and we are not going back to another time. And if you're going to survive, at very basic levels, as well as thriving during this time and into the next year, then you have to let those innovations happen. You have to let the change happen. You have to let go of anything that is keeping you back. Let go of the past, let go of your pain, let go of everything. You just gotta let it all go. And so this is all of that is part of this liberating energy of this moon, which again is partially because of Uranus, but also partially because this moon is so fiery. There's just a lot of fiery energy, a lot of creative energy, a lot of destructive and renewal, restorative types of energies under the influence of this moon. Uranus, again, as this kind of disruptive, awakening, innovating energy, is also an energy in the planet of sudden and drastic changes. So you might find over the next few days that things happen very suddenly, very quickly, big changes. We will most likely see it in the world around us, in the political arena around us. There's a lot of big political events coming up this week. Likely we could see it there. We could see it in the financial arena, particularly given that Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus rules the financial sector. So expect drastic changes out here, but even more expect them in here, because again, when a planet is retrograde, that's happening more here than out here. And so if something comes up and you feel like you're being asked, or you're definitely asked, to make some kind of sudden or drastic change, be open to it, right? That change could be the thing that innovates your entire life. And so be open to the innovations that arise, because Uranus is also in a really lovely aspect under the influence of this moon. He's in a great aspect with Venus. So these are things that are going to improve your life. These are innovations that are going to make you feel better. They're going to make you feel more comfortable. It's an uncomfortable time. Anything that you can possibly do to make yourself feel more comfortable, do it. So embrace the changes that come. Embrace the opportunity for innovation. Channel your energy. Learn how to maneuver in this energy so that you can create the change rather than the change being created for you. So the second way that you can channel and utilize this energy in a way to benefit your life, so that you are the one creating the kind of change that you want to create rather than having that change created to you and for you, is to have the courage to express yourself fully and authentically. And if I had to choose only one thing that this moon is about, that would be it. This is the #1 theme for all the people, you know, the headline that's reeling across, you know, Times Square. This is it. You have to have the courage to express yourself fully and authentically. This moon, again, has so much fire. And fire energy really isn't typically worried about anybody else. And so a new moon, by definition, is when the sun and the moon are conjunct in the sky. So they are together in the sky. That's why we set intentions. That's why it's considered a fertile time. You plant seeds. Literally, you know, people who plant with the lunar cycles plant seeds under the new moon, because that's when the sun and the moon come together. That's considered to be the most fertile time. And so the new moon is in Leo, and Leo is ruled by the sun, right? So it rules love and sex and play and pleasure and romance and children and your own inner child and creativity and flirtation and creative expression, and especially your own unique expression of yourself. And it's definitely considered to be one of the most fun signs of the zodiac. And the sun, obviously, is the body that gives all energy to every living thing on the face of this planet. And so that's the kind of power that we're dealing with under the influence of this new moon. Is the cosmic energy is completely and absolutely unstoppable. And the only thing, the one thing that you can do to utilize this energy to your benefit is to shine as brightly as possible and to project yourself as your truest, most vibrant self. Everything that you are, the multiplicity of yourself, express it all. And conjunct this new moon, which is again automatically the moon conjunct the sun, is also Mercury, right? So these three very important bodies are together in the sky under this new moon. And Mercury is the messenger. And so it is very likely that you will receive, and individually, and that we will receive collectively, very, very important messages around the time of this new moon. And likely they will relate to these themes that have to do with the sun and have to do with self-expression and have to do with Leo. And so pay attention to those messages that come, because you're going to need to use them over the course of the entire cycle, but they'll especially probably play out and be very important over the next couple of weeks, 2 weeks. And so you have to show up. That you can't let anyone else tell you what showing up looks like, because it's going to look different for everyone, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of Leo, is that every single human being has a unique self-expression. Everyone will show up in a different way. And so no one can tell you this is what it means for you to show up as your most authentic self. How you feel is your most authentic self, and what it means for you to show up as your most authentic self is how you need to show up. So show up for yourself as yourself during this time and moving forward. So the other thing that's happening with all of this fiery energy and all of this self-expression is that Mars is in his own home sign of Aries and in a positive, direct relationship with this new moon. And conjoining Mars are Eris and Lilith. I'm going to talk a little bit about what all of this means. So Mars is the warrior. He rules passion, drive, motivation, sex drive, your style of taking action, and he's in the process of slowing down so that he can station retrograde from mid-September until mid-November. So Mars rules Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's the initiating energy of all life, right? It's a very important energy. It's the kind of energy that allows bulbs to burst through the frozen ground. It's the kind of energy that allows, you know, a watermelon-sized thing to come through a hole that's this big. It is a very important initiating, pushing, propelling energy. And Mars and the Sun, again, are in this really beautiful relationship with each other, and they are the two most masculine and most activating energies in the zodiac. So they are the primary energies that project, and they are the primary energies that activate. And they're also the two signs that represent our identities and our self-expression in the world. So they're really about how do we identify in the world. You know, this is not our soul identity. This is not, you know, this is like who you are in the real world, who you are in the real life, how you show who you are, how you represent yourself to other human beings. And they are both, again, in their home signs, and they are motivating each other. They're on the same team for this. So this is a good home team. Like, they have a really serious home team advantage right here. And this aspect is also pretty rare, and it's only happening because of the retrograde. And so this makes their alliance extremely powerful right now, because it's just something that doesn't normally happen. And they are two incredibly activating energies, and they are being supported in a lot of different ways. And so in this alliance, how you are is who you are. How you are is who you are. How you are is who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what your degrees are. It doesn't matter what kind of positions you have. It doesn't matter, you know, the faults you've made, the mistakes you've had. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of stupid shit that you've done. None of that matters. The only thing that matters in this alliance is your ability to generate joy, bring beauty, play with passion, and impart pleasure on yourself and those people who are surrounding you that are meant for you. And so any part of you that you've tried to hide or repress, or that you fear, or that you're like, I'm trying to be this person, but that really ain't me. But, you know, any of that is insufficient. Any of those identities where you're not being fully yourself, or you're trying to be something other than what you are because it's not going to be accepted or acceptable in your own personal opinion, or maybe in the personal opinions of other people around you, which is why you have that idea in your head. It's just not going to be able to withstand all of your greatness. And it's not going to help you to thrive in the new world that's emerging. So you have a lot of change right now, and who you've been is not going to work out for who you're being called to be now. Gonna have to change. Gonna have to be a new person. Going to have to be your most authentic, brilliant self. Okay, all this fire will burn away any of those old identities. All of this fire is going to burn away. Well, I think I could try to maybe be this person over here, or let me just try to be this person over here. Let me just, you know, try to be this person here. I think I can make that work. Right, it's just going to burn it away. Some of the burning could be literal. Might be some fires out there this week, but I'm going to let somebody else discuss that. I'm not going to touch that one. The world is in a little bit of an identity crisis. The United States is definitely going through an identity crisis, and will continue to do so for the next year or so. You might also feel like you're going through an identity crisis right now. And if you are, like, welcome to the club. It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay, and you're not alone. Keep going, and most importantly, express yourself, create, right? And so this is an opportunity to start over with a blank state. It could be a blank state too. That was not what I meant to say. Blank state is also an opportunity and a possibility. A blank slate is what I meant to say, but I think there's probably going to be some blank states out there as well. So blank slate, and to be liberated from the past, because every single system on the face of the planet is transforming right now and being transformed, and the world is going to become unrecognizable from what it is like in the next 5 years. And so we can't rely solely on the traditional institutions and power structures and governance systems that we've relied upon. Again, Uranus and Taurus, like, that shit's getting blown up right now in many different kinds of ways. So you really have to forget, as I've already said, all of the beliefs that you have about how the world works and what the rules are, and have to really assess the current situations of your life based on the data that's available currently. Like, use the data and your observations, like what you see in your life, use the data to make your determinations. Don't rely on a single data source. Low research skills 101. Find at least 3 different types of sources to confirm the data that you use to make your decisions, right? Got to triangulate your data. Don't rely on 1 source or 2 sources. If you can find more than 3, that's even better. And question your own beliefs about how you believe you or anyone are supposed to show up in the particular areas of your life in order to appease the ideals of social propriety in the cultural contexts in which you find yourself. Be really, really wary of the proporisms, okay? So then again, the Sun and the Mars are these 2, not only just projecting, fiery, action-oriented bodies, but they're also the 2 most courageous celestial bodies. And they're especially courageous in their home signs, which they both are. This is a time where you can gain the courage to overcome whatever has been limiting you from being your fullest and truest self, because you have to overcome it. The world needs for you to overcome those things because the world needs you as you are. And so hopefully what ends up happening is that large groups of people decide that they're only going to show up as their truest selves, and they are going to burn from their own authentic, intense internal fire so they can create a wildfire that cannot be contained and that burns through all that is no longer serving us in this world, because nothing can purify like fire can purify. The third way that you can utilize the energy of this new moon to benefit and improve your life is to embrace your dark feminine energy. So every single human being has masculine energy and feminine energy. So again, everyone has Martian energy, everyone has solar energy, and everyone has feminine energy, this dark feminine energy. Right now, under the energy of this new moon, in order to harness all of that fire, is to connect with your dark feminine energy. Again, regardless of your gender identity, because Mars is not alone. He also is conjoined Lilith and Eris. And Venus is also in this very steamy relationship with Uranus, like I already said. So there's this kind of like powerful, again, kind of more action-oriented, but like really deep, feminine, fecund energy under this lunation. There's a lot of complex history surrounding Lilith, but generally speaking, she was Adam's first wife, Adam of Adam and Eve. She was Adam's first wife. And so in the mythology, Adam told her that she had to submit to him sexually, and she refused to do that. And so she left him. And in some of the stories, some of the myths from that particular time, she also then shapeshifts into the serpent, who ends up tempting Eve in the Garden of Eden. So she is very dark, she is fierce, she is fecund, she is not afraid to upend the status quo. She's not afraid to create controversy. She has that serpentine energy which connects with and reads the rhythms of the earth. So she's very connected to the rhythms of the earth and the rhythms of the body. And so this energy is also kind of the snake charmer, kundalini, belly dancer kind of energy. She is conjunct Mars. Also, with the 2 of them is Eris. And Eris is a relatively new planetary energy. She is considered a minor planet. She is Pluto's divine counterpart. And she is not considered a planet, but she's, again, like a dwarf planet in the Milky Way, and she's further away than Pluto, but she's also bigger than Pluto, and she's considered to be much more deeply transformative. And so, like I said, she was recently discovered, and one of the things that happened is that the astronomy community had a lot of disagreement about if she should be considered a planet or not considered a planet. She's the reason why Pluto is no longer considered a planet in the astronomy community, because there was no agreement over whether Eris could be considered a planet or not. And it was, if Eris was not going to be a planet, then Pluto couldn't be a planet. If Pluto was going to be a planet, then Eris had to also be considered a planet. And no one wanted to, well, not no one, but more people than not did not want Eris to be named a planet. And so Eris is the reason why Pluto lost his own status as a planet. So Eris's mythology is a little bit vengeful as well, and she is deeply transformative, more transformative than Pluto. There's a little bit more of a destructive quality to her. She's considered to be more destructive than Pluto. You know, Pluto's considered transformative, and we're going to change and transform, and there's this kind of, you know, scorpionic, you know, phoenix energy. That kind of energy is not associated with Eris. So again, vengeful, but she's also the only energy in the zodiac that can kill Pluto, and did kill Pluto. And so they have this very intense kind of partnership. So we have these two extremely powerful dark goddesses who tend to live in the underground. They tend to be invisible. Lilith, Dark Moon Lilith, is not actually even a body, a celestial body. She's a mathematical point. And so this is, again, this energy of feeling. These energies tend to be felt more than heard. And so they tend to confer their energy through feeling as opposed to messages. But again, right now they're with Mars. Those are three energies that are pretty complementary energies, and they together are sending this energy directly to Mercury, who can then translate those messages, translate those feelings into very distinct messages. And I think that's going to be a huge part of what people may be receiving about who they're called to be, and how they're called how you're called to manifest and express your own energy and yourself during this particular time. The energy for carrying out these messages over the next 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, will be very strong. So the fourth thing that you can do to channel the energy of this moon is to reimagine your power and worth and dream bigger. Whatever you think your biggest dream is, dream bigger. So like I said, we have Mars, Lilith, and Eris in Aries, and they are also challenging Pluto and Capricorn. So again, this is like Mars is the lower octave of Pluto. Eris is Pluto's divine counterpart. So together, a challenge between Pluto and the three of them, Pluto's not going to win. So it's also like, oh, Pluto and Capricorn wants to transform, but has a hard time because Capricorn's like a slow, you know, ruled by Saturn. Let's just put all the limitations and do this slowly. But the three of them are like, oh, you're trying to change? We hear you, but we don't see you changing. Well, let us help you out. Like, we can just help you with that one. So there's this kind of maybe things that you don't want to change, or again, going to be forced to change. Getting back to the idea of change, how you want to appear in the external world. You know, they're going to be like, that's cool. Not true anymore. Venus is in Cancer, sextile Uranus in Taurus. The sextile is Venus's favorite aspect, and Taurus is her home. That's her own domicile. So this is a really powerful aspect for her, and it's some receptive feminine energy in the midst of a lot of masculine energy, and even the other feminine energy is this very, you know, dark, action-oriented energy, so very different than Venusian energy. And so, you know, the excitement of the breakthroughs, there could be breakthroughs for your heart, they could be breakthroughs through your heart. You especially have breakthroughs for your sense of worth in the sign of Taurus. So owning your power as your authentic self and understanding that who you are and how you are is what gives you a sense of worth more than the money you have or where you live or where all those other things. Your worth is a direct result of who you are and how you are. So the more that you show up authentically during this time, the more likely you are to attract these breakthroughs of your sense of worth and these breakthroughs in your sense of self and these breakthroughs in your understanding of who you are. Jupiter and Pluto and Capricorn are in a sextile. So again, this is a flowing relationship with Neptune, which is also Venus's higher octave. So we see how there's these different levels of these different energies moving in and out of these different aspects under this lunation. Neptune is in Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune and Pisces can be about dissolving boundaries and borders, and in particular with Jupiter and Pluto and Capricorn. Capricorn, again, rules power and power structures, so it can really be about dissolving the power of power structures or dissolving the boundaries of power structures or the boundaries to power structures, dissolving or having illusions about the structures that maintain a balance of power or that are supposed to maintain a balance of power. So again, there's a lot happening politically right now that could very much align with this energy, these astrological energies, where there's no real lines around power and who has power and who has how much power and what power is and how power is defined. And there can be a lot of illusions and delusions created during this time about how much power one has in the world, especially, and in one's career, and in the eyes of the public. And so a lot of people may immediately go to the idea that, well, that person thinks they have more power than they actually do. That could certainly be part of it. I'm not going to say it's not. But I also think it's important to mention that this can be equally as much about people's illusions or delusions about the immensity of their own power, that people think they have less power than they do. You have more power than you think, right? That's a message that really came strongly to me when I was meditating on this moon. You have more power than you think. You are delusional about your own powerlessness. And that powerlessness is really an illusion. And powerlessness is a delusion. So, and this is not just like, oh, you're a child of, insert the name of whatever external divine being you want to, insert. You're a child of God, you're a child of this, whatever. You actually are a powerful agent in the real world. You have power in this external earthly world. In this material world, you are powerful, right? And so you have to remember that you have a lot more power than you think you have. You already have so much power. It's here. It doesn't come from out there. It comes from here. So the important thing to do is to settle into the unique power and authority that you already have. And whatever power and authority that you have, nobody else has the same exact power and authority. You have your own power and authority. So settle into that. And then let that power and authority that you already have be the means by which you can transform whatever it is that makes you feel powerless into new forms of power that you can't even begin to imagine yet. You have to settle into the power that you have in order to transform your sense of powerlessness, whatever it might be, everyone's got one, into new forms of power. Neptune, again, rules the imagination. So Neptune's like, how can you reimagine your power and how can you wield it in the world? Most importantly, are you ready to wield your power? Are you ready to use your power? Are you ready to own your power? Are you ready to sit in your power? Are you ready to be that powerful being out in the world every single day? If you don't own your power, someone else is going to use their power against you. And these are the kind of themes of this moon, where there's all this power and all of this, empowerment and all of this amazing energy and all of this amazing fight, but you have to use it and channel it, because if you don't, it's going to be used against you. So everyone has equal opportunity with their energy underneath this moon, but you got to use it. and you got to take it, because if you don't, it will definitely get used against you. So again, that's where the darkness and the vengefulness comes from and can come in, is if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, so you got to use it. So the fifth way that you can channel this energy of this moon for your own benefit is to have fun and get shit done. So if you wield these energies well, your own capacity to manifest your intentions between this new moon and the full moon at the beginning of September is higher than usual. There's a lot of energy to get things done. There's a lot of energy, like there's a little bit of extra magic, a little more magic than usual, and some motivations. You've got kind of all of the ingredients you need to manifest some really big things in the next couple of weeks. If you don't get it done, you got to own your power. You got to position yourself well, because if you don't, we don't know what's going to happen when September comes. And there's a lot of predictions coming from a lot of people, some astrological, some financial, economic, like there's a lot of predictions coming from all the spaces that September is going to be a really big month. So you're going to want to position yourself well. So this is a time to get organized. The sun's getting ready to move into Virgo at the end of this week. That is the sign of rhythms and routine and being organized. So you want to get into a rhythm, find rituals that feed your body and your spirit, and like really tunnel vision it for the next 2 weeks, right? So since we're getting ready to move into Virgo season, you want a Virgoan system these next couple of weeks. So we're going to be moving into Virgo season, and Mercury is also just getting ready to move into Virgo, as you have a lot of support to stay focused and get stuff done. Virgo is a sign of work, right? So you want to get things done. So there's going to be a lot to do around this new moon, and a lot of action steps being given to you, but the message is really to make sure that you're sitting in your own sense of worth. So that everything that you do comes from a deep sense of your own worth and your own power. If you're doing something and you are not feeling your sense of power, then you need to find your power before you do that. And if you cannot, then don't do the thing. Make sure that you're sitting in your own sense of worth, your own sense of power, your own sense of authenticity when you're doing any of these things that you know you're being called to do. Because if you're sitting in that place, then it will be easy to get that stuff done, even though it's a lot and it might feel like a lot. This is about sitting on your throne, right? This is the new moon in Leo, and Leo is the sign of royalty, right? Leo is the king. Leo is the king. And it's also the sign ruled by the sun. And all that Leo has to do to achieve whatever it's trying to achieve is just be who it is, be what it is, and create what it creates. People with a lot of Leo energy, what do? They just are, right? They just kind of show up in the world, and all they have to do is be who they are, and that's it. That's their power, right? That's their superpower. And so under this new moon, that's your superpower. Being who you are is your superpower. And you don't have to go and do the most. But I mean, Leo is already extra, so you don't need to worry about like, no, God, am I being the most? No, well, yeah, because you're supposed to be the most. That's the point. And create with everything that you already know and you already have. You don't need anything more, right? That's a big message of Leo energy generally, but especially right now. Like, you don't need to have more. You don't need to know more. You don't need to try to achieve 85 different things before you can say, no, I can create something. No, create with what you've got, because you already have all that power that you're already sitting in, and all of that creativity and all that authentic energy, and you are so worthy of everything that you desire. This could be a very heart forward and heart opening new moon for you. Again, the awakenings that you might have could be heart awakenings, awakenings related to love, awakenings having to do with your heart center and the heart chakra and unconditional love. You might feel a sense of unconditional love. You might feel your own heart opening up. You might, and it could feel vulnerable. You might feel a little vulnerable, but these are also the breakthroughs that are going to lead you to be fully yourself, right? When you live from your heart, then you're always living from your own sense of authenticity. So even though there's all this mercurial energy, the beauty of the sun and Mercury meeting in Leo is that it's a balance between the heart and the mind. And obviously the heart's so important too in authentic expression, but also authentic creation and creativity. So whatever you're doing, even if it's something that you might not traditionally think of as being a creative activity or a creative practice, see how can you turn everything that you do into a creative practice and an act of creation, right? We're human beings, we are ecological entities, and it is our ecological imperative as living creatures to create. That's really our only ecological imperative, is to create and create and create and evolve. The final way that you can channel the energy of this immense new moon for your own benefit is to honor the multiplicity of your destiny. So this is related to your authentic expression. Everyone is a unique combination of energies, some of which might seem to contradict themselves, but all of which makes us the complex and unique beings that we are. When you try to be like either or, this gets into the whole, well, maybe I can be this thing and like push this thing over here, you end up cutting pieces of yourself off. Whenever you cut a piece of yourself off, because everything is connected, you end up losing the fullness of any other piece. You can't be happy when you're cutting part of yourself off. And you can't be whole when you're cutting yourself off. And you can't be fully authentic if you're like, well, let me just be this part of myself authentic, but just pretend like that one doesn't exist. Like, that's not how it works. Again, we are ecological beings. Everything is connected. Anything that we do in one place, part of ourselves will show up in the other part of ourselves in some kind of way. But when you allow yourself to express your destiny through different means, different forms, and ways of being, then every piece of yourself is emboldened, enhanced, and supported. So this is about allowing yourself to support all of the different parts of yourself, even if they seem to contradict one another, even if they seem to conflict with each other. And so part of the process of the remainder of this year is, and your life, because I think this is one of the reasons why we're here, is to figure out how to integrate and cooperate with all of these different diverse pieces of ourselves. We are supported in doing this right now and for the next year and a half-ish, because the nodes of the moon are in a direct relationship with the new moon and the sun and Mercury, and with Mars and Lilith and Eris. And so in your chart, the nodes of the moon represent your personal energetic destiny. So this is, the south node is the energy that you brought into this life, and the north node is the energy that you are meant to embody in this life. So you're going from one end to the other end, not to release one thing, but to find balance between those things. And so the north node is in Gemini, and the south node is in Sagittarius. And this means that Gemini and Gemini energy are being privileged right now. And so this is collectively they're being privileged. They're also being privileged in your chart. And so Sagittarian energy is being restricted. But during this lunation, there's an opportunity to find balance between Gemini and Sagittarian energy, but only if we really focus on Gemini energy. So what does that even mean? What does Gemini represent? Gemini represents and rules communication, particularly your general style of communication in everyday life. So this isn't, how you communicate in formal writing or publications, those kinds of things. But how do you talk to the people in your regular everyday work life? How do you talk to your family? How do you talk to the person, if at the coffee shop or whatever it might, just how do you talk with people generally? And also includes people on social media. So social media is ruled by Gemini. It also includes how you communicate with the divine. So divination, forms of divination are also ruled by Gemini. It rules short trips, how you move through your local environment, including your means of travel, your local community, your neighborhood, your siblings, your extended family, diversity and multiplicity, and your early childhood education, but especially your natural style of learning. How do you tend to learn? And also, how were you taught to learn? So the idea here is to focus more on informal communications and networking than formal communications. If you have a choice to negotiate, do the backdoor negotiation or do like a whole, in the courtroom, in front of the media negotiation, do the backdoor negotiation, right? This is a backdoor negotiation, a side conversation kind of time. That's where all the benefit comes in those kinds of communications. It's also more, what are you learning about in your social networks, and kind of more informal, like what are you learning on YouTube as opposed to what you're learning about in the university, because Sagittarius rules higher education, universities, formal publishing, theorizing. So this is a time to privilege storytelling over theorizing. And that's part of multiplicity, because it's very difficult to maintain a sense of multiplicity in a unified theory. Some might say it's not possible. So this energy of this moon is so much fire and air and speaking the truth. And if you engage in lively conversations and allow yourself to be flirty and fun and have fun, little back and forth with people and just have fun, right? Have fun this week. And that's what's going to move you into the right direction, right? Because Leo is about pleasure, and your pleasure taps you into your desire, and your desire leads you to your destiny. So just to recap, to channel the energies of this new moon to your own benefit so that you can utilize your power rather than being used by the power that's out there. You want to accept change. You want to have the courage to express yourself fully and authentically. You want to embrace your dark feminine energy. You want to reimagine your power and worth and dream bigger. Have fun and get shit done, and honor the multiplicity of your destiny. Have an amazing, beautiful, blessed new moon, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.